body was shaking. After a long while, she died out. But now, Abigail's mother had lost and turned into a zombie and quickly rushed towards her. At the crucial moment, the gunshots came. The man came like a god to save Abigail. So why this happen? Everything happened. Boy was watching cartoons in the house when suddenly the TV signal lost. The TV screen immediately interrupted an announcement that an unknown epidemic over the world. Those infected would turn thirsty maniacs within minutes or days of incubation. This disease had a super high infection rate, and many were continuously ravaged. The boy was watching attentively when suddenly from downstairs, he mustered up his courage to see. It turned out to be just his sister's joke. At this time, the father home, because the father was on duty outside, he told the mother to children to a relative's house in the suburb temporarily take refuge. Because was also experienced a zombie epidemic. Her father always carried a lucky bracelet that she personally made. Abigail smiled brightly. At the time, the mother finished packing. Suddenly, the mother heard a miserable scream from outside from time to time. She did not dare to delay for a second longer, and hurriedly pulled her 2 children out. When she was suddenly pushed down by an person. Abigail quickly crawled to the car. She saw her younger brother harmed with her own eyes. She was so scared that her body was shaking. After a long while, she dared to go out. Abigail did not expect that her mother had lost consciousness and turned into a zombie and quickly rushed towards her. At the crucial moment, the dots were transmitted to this uncle, who came like a god to save Abigail. After finishing the matter, he did not forget to tell Abigail to cover her ear. Then the uncle opened fire and killed her, who was about to turn into a zombie. In the blink of an eye, 10 years had passed. Civilization had collapsed after being ravaged by zombies. The former flower city was only ruins. Little Abigail had also grown up the teachings of the uncle Cassius, who had saved her life. Abigail has become a female warrior, live forest. Because Abigail has livers, she has a strong desire to live with other people. Her greatest wish is to find a base for survivors. But Cassius' place to live is a deserted island, far from humans. At midnight, Cassius was awakened by the alarm. Cassius accidentally went out of the tent to check. A zombie rushed out of the darkness. Cassius shot 6 times in a row. Both of them felt extremely weak because zombies live in herds, so there must be many of their kind around. Still not dawn, so the 2 of them left. Suddenly, their horse neighed a few times. Cassius realized that danger was approaching. The 2 of them looked around from behind, jeep, surrounded by zombies. Cassius in other people's business, but Abigail shouted and fired. But to kill the remaining zombies. 2 of them sent their horses to the jeep. Of course, they couldn't miss the supplies. Cassius's eyes fell on the dead man's shoes. As soon as he shoes, he heard a call from the car's walkie. It turned out that the person who had just been still had accomplices. He intended to leave immediately. Unexpectedly, off-road vehicles rushed over soon after. A large number of survivors holding guns surrounded them. Some people saw that Cassius had just and thought that the 2 of them were robbers without limits. While the 2 sides were struggling, got out of the car and begged her accomplices to spare Abigail's group. At this time, force gave a warning. Immediately after, a roar came from the forest way. A large number of zombies rushed over from all directions. Everyone wanted, but it was too late. They could only take out their weapons and stand their attack. A female zombie seemed to still have some intelligence. The survivors had no cover, were quickly reduced. Abigail carefully axed the pregnant woman in a jeep. Cassie fought and retreated, then conveniently killed other zombie who still had consciousness. Then he snapped his chicken feet and the zombies. Black-faced zombie saw the female zombie. Only that this group originally wanted to join the first camp, called Boat Town. Hearing this, Abigail became excited because the place she had always wanted to go. After determining the direction, Cassie decided to drive there, but halfway there, the pregnant woman's husband got out and introduced himself as David, a mechanical repair expert. But due to a lack of spare parts, the car was defective. Cassius's group had no choice but to walk. Just like that, they quickly along the road ahead and arrived at the sea where Abigail wanted to live. The tall buildings here were still there, but they were no for. Cassius found a spacious building and prepared to rest here for the night. After confirming that there was no danger around, they gathered keys and slept there. Abigail was very curious about the barracks called Boat Town. Place. His wife named Megan used a radio to communicate with the other side. The name was just like the appearance of the town. It was made up of it had no contact with the mainland, so it was extremely. Moreover, the water and food sources were abundant. It could be considered a holy land where the Hear this, Abigail's eyes lit up, but Cassius was not interested in this place. If there was free time to talk, it would be better to go out and more warning devices and exps. After finishing, Cassius returned to tell everyone about the future plan. He would escort Megan and her husband for a while longer. And the two sides went their separate ways because they're in the opposite direction. Abigail was extreme and ran out to reason with Cassius. Why not go to the boat with them? Cassius, a very smart person. The more people there were, the more. But Abigail did not understand how evil people's hearts were. After arguing with Cassius, she ran upstairs alone. But what everyone did not know was that the black-faced zombie had followed the scent to play with the car they threw on the street. It seemed that the leader of this group of zombies was determined. Cassius. Early in the morning, right after viewed the picture of a small lake, suddenly there was a whistling sound from the bushes downstairs. In the morning, right after Abigail reviewed the pictures of the small lake, suddenly there was a crackling sound downstairs. Abigail realized that there was a zombie and was about to go downstairs to warn everyone if there was a zombie on the street. Fortunately, was able to deal with that zombie in time. Abigail also lost her balance. At this moment, Cassius appeared again. Not long after, of the zombie group, his followers here. Fortunately, he had fallen into the trap that Cassius had set up in advance. Hearing the explosion, he felt a little bit scared and knew that he had been targeted by them. At this moment, Abigail suddenly remembered that not far away, small lake airport that her father often took her to. Unexpectedly, there were still planes there, so everyone would not walk every day. Cassius thought that there was a possibility that there was a plane. It was not big. He could not resist Abigail's, so he had no choice but to agree to go and check. At the civil airport that Abigail mentioned before everyone's eyes. But everyone immediately felt disappointed because this place without any planes. But Abigail did not give up. She remembered that her fossilized aircraft, which had now become a mysterious-looking wasteland, after using the old method to her father's small plane was still there. Abigail was extremely pleased because she could finally show herself in front of Cassius. But this plane had been used for a long time, so David said it had. Cassius and Abigail were in charge of guarding the trash. They had not sat long when they saw zombies rushing towards them. Cassius ran over to remind Megan and her husband to get on the plane within 3 minutes. They no longer cared. David had finished checking and repairing it. There were still planes there, so Cassius thought that there was a possibility there was a plane. Although it was not big, Beatrix launched a surprise attack, causing the man to get caught in the room's protective magic port that Abigail. Everyone's eyes immediately felt disappointed because planes. But Abigail did not give up, which had now become a. After using the father's small one was still there. Abigail was extremely pleased because she could finally herself and. But this plane had not been used for a long time. Said it had to be checked. Cassius and Abigail were in charge of guard above. They had not sat for long. Cassius hurriedly ran over to remind David had finished repairing it. Therefore, she went out to the stone table area to use magic. As the zombies got closer, Abigail tried to stay calm, relying on her vague memories he had actually started. But at this time, there were zombies chasing after her. Their running speed was equal to that of a sprint champ. They seemed to want to plane. Cass opened fire and killed the zombies who had just climbed up. Abigail stood the flight danger, and she gently lifted the plane into the sky. The black zombie raised his head to look at the sky. His eyes were complicated. On the plane, ever smiling happily, arrive at the town. Unexpectedly later, the tail of the plane suddenly burst into smoke and then straight to the ground. Fortunately, they were lucky enough. The plane fell from a limited height and was supported by a tree, so all of them were only slightly in. The plane was no longer usable, so they continued walking. After arrived at the abandoned train. After checking that there were no zombies, Cassius decided to rest here. The entrance and the boat town were both at the road, so the four of them could still continue to get out. After putting his jeep, Dave went out of the cabin alone and pulled down his, revealing a horrifying wound. It turned out that he had been bitten by a zombie not long before. David knew turned into a zombie sooner or later, planned to shoot and end his life. But thinking about his wife who was about to, he gave the idea. Early the next morning, Cassius heard that something was wrong with David. When no one was paying attention, Cassius pulled up David's pants and discovered a zombie. But he was dragged away first, so he could only temporarily and not kill David immediately. Night fell, and the group accidentally discovered a farmer's house ahead. Cassius sneaked out the door with a gun running. Sure there was someone inside, Abigail went straight to the door and said, "No bad intentions." After knowing that there was a pregnant woman in their group, the homeowner immediately let down his guard. After all the weapons, the man enthusiastically invited everyone into the house. Unexpectedly, the homeowner installed a solar-powered rainwater filter. Finally, Abigail was able to take a bath and have a delightful. Cassius charged his laptop in pictures of his uncle and his wife, including a picture of a pregnant wife. After looking at the pictures, Cassius went to and said changed his mind. He would take the boat town and then take Abigail to find the harbor. At this time, the homeowner wine and water to everyone. It had been a long time since their relaxing time. But after a while, they immediately that something was wrong. Lord thought that zombies were the new stage of human evolution, and that they were the top species that should rule. Just like greedy humans before. Everyone was so surprised that eyes and mouths were wide open at the landlord's words. Only Dave more and more uncomfortable. When he ran to the bathroom, he realized that the disease spread throughout his body. David returned to the living room and one had fainted. Then the landlord pressed the button on the device in his hand. He felt his whole body go limp and had no strength. When he woke up, David himself and his teammates hanging. It turned out that the landlord had put sleep in their drinks. His true identity was a biologist. After years of research, he invented a special machine that could control the behavior of zombies through infrasound. Cassius's group had thrown themselves into this. So of course, they would become rare guinea pigs. After speaking, the landlord opened the cage behind him. Inside was his zombie. He tried to turn on the switch. The zombies actually listened to him and rate to Cassius. David relied on the power of disease in his body to break the handcuffs. Then he ignored the control of them and ran to save Coop. The landlord saw that the situation was unfavorable and immediately disappeared very quickly. Cass stay here for long. He found a car outside and took everyone into the jungle. But the landlord of them. He controlled the zombies after their car. Cassius' car very fast. Unexpectedly, driving, the car was blocked by a fallen tree. At this time, the group could only abandon the car and run on foot. David knew to resist much longer, so he decided to stay and protect everyone's escape. After saying a few words to his wife, he quit the middle of the zombie herd. But that only temporarily stopped their footsteps. Cassius and when they were about to be caught by the zombies, they at least saw a human guard post. This was their destination boat. Hearing the noise, they opened fire and killed all the zombies invaded their territory. The black-faced hunter stopped his comrades who were trying to chase after them. As there was water ahead, they couldn't break through. Long after, Cassius' group took a boat to the center of the camp. Broke and needed timely treatment. Fortunately, there was a doctor and a hospital room. Early the next morning, the entire appearance of this camp and the large connected together to form to fight against the 6 electric lights. Cassius finally met the person in charge of the camp. Welcomed the two to settle here, but they were to follow a series of rules. Cassius didn't listen immediately, turned around and left. He still felt the island was deserted, free and easy. Abigail had decided to stay here. She wanted to live with friends of the same age, so the two had an argument. This time, the doctor came to that Megan had given birth to a daughter. But because of excessive blood loss, she might not longer. Cassius was extremely sad and ran to the hospital. At this time, Megan was very sick. She wanted to entrust her newly born daughter Cassius. Megan grow up like Abigail. Cassius remembered his deceased wife agreed. On this side, Abigail was led by a handsome guy. He experienced the joy she had known before. She didn't expect that the whole group could drink and dance together to the wonder, so she insisted on staying here longer. After Abigail accidentally saw the handsome guy into the cabin. She temporarily discovered that there were wire and explosives arranged underneath. A remote detonator was placed in the most place. At this time, the handsome explained that they were full of under the cabin. If one day this place was attacked, the people would leap through the tunnel and detonate the interior. But the two of them did not expect that the day they were attacked would come so quickly. The landlord hated Cassius's group, so he used the control device to join hands with the leader of the zombies. With support of human intelligence, the natural pressure of water was no longer effective. A large number of zombies swam around the boat to a boat town. Because of the sudden attack, guards suffered heavy losses. The people who no longer had the edge of the terrain could only send for the zombies. Cassius was worried about Abigail's safety, so he went against the people looking for her. While shooting in zombies, he finally found Abigail fighting on the boat. Perhaps because he was excited, he was pushed by zombie boat. The proud owner appeared. He fought revenge. But Cassius did not sit still and wait to die. He grabbed the opponent and hit it hard. The weak machine broke down. No longer able to control the zombies, the owner and machine were destroyed. Many survivors ran through the tunnel to the other side of the river. When they were prepared to detonate the bomb, the handsome guy told them to wait because Abigail was still on the boat. When Cassius used the roof to knock away the leader of the zombies, Abigail accidentally saw the opponent's bracelet. It was the bracelet she personally made for her. But at the time, Abigail had time to think much. She was pulled into the tunnel by Cassius. The handsome guy saw the two people had escaped and quickly pressed the remote control button. The entire boat was immediately engulfed in flames. Everyone's fight was not over yet. The hemp came with a neckbird. In the battle just now, zombie. But he had not yet developed. He was pushed down by the zombie group. Unexpectedly, also lucky to survive the explosion. Cassius immediately rushed to fight it. Abigail picked the ground and realized that the leader of the zombie group was her father. Cassius, who had raised her since she was little, was also in danger. In the end, Abigail decided to shoot the leader of the zombie group. After all, he was no longer her father. This will prove that the female zombie that Cassius had killed earlier was Abigail's mother. Finally, Cassius led the group of survivors to look at the distant island. They decided to reach a new human habitat. The movie ends here. This is the entire content of the movie Silent Zone. Thank you for your and follow. Please like and follow our channel to watch videos as soon as possible. Bye, and see you again. Flames. But everyone was not over yet. In the battle just now, but he had not. He was pushed down by the immediately rushed to fight, picked up the gun on and realized that the leader of the zombie group was her father, who had raised her since she was. And Abigail decided zombie that Cassius had killed. Finally, new human there. The movie ends. This is the intent of the movie Silent Zone. Follow channel to watch new videos as flames. But everyone's fight was not over yet. In the battle just now, but he had not yet. He was pushed down by the picked up the gun on the ground is that the leader of the zombie group was her father. Raised her since she was. And Abigail decided to. At that moment, the fire zombies also caught Bloom's scent. At this time, the zombie fire also surrounded her. The movie ends. In the end, she destroyed all the fire zombies. Movie Silent Zone. Follow, like and follow channel to watch new videos as soon as possible. Flames. But everyone's not over yet. in the battle zombie. But he had not yet. He was down by the group, was her father. Abigail decided to. At the zombies also caught Bloom's scent. At this time, the zombie fire surrounded her. In the end, she